Hello, everyone. Let's Talk HR is back for season 2, and we thought we would coast easily into the new season by just breezing over a subject nobody's talking about and talking about the cost of living. With things about to go from expensive to extortionate, we thought we would pull together a crack team and sort of just talk about the sort of things that we're having to think about, the discussions that we're having, and some of the things that we're seeing that may be taking things a step too far or maybe not far enough, when we've got refusal to pay in October, partial payment at petrol pumps, and a couple of other things that we're seeing people do at the moment. I'm going to start with Claire. Claire, how are you this fine evening?
I'm all right, thank you. Are you?
I'm not bad. I'm hoping you don't send me a bill for your laptop power for this.
I'm putting it down, James. It's all right. I'm on it. This is how I'm protecting my own outgoings. I'm charging other people for my electric.
But you're part of obviously you work for the NHS, but you're also an owner of Fertility Matters UK, and you're doing a big sort of MP lobbying at the moment. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what that is and how they can get involved?
Yeah, okay. So we're currently lobbying Parliament to get some statutory protection for people going through fertility treatment. So the bill's read on the 25th of November this year. We're trying to get as many people as possible, not just women. This is people. This is not a women's health issue. This is across the board. To write to your MP, we've made it really simple on our website. You just put in your postcode and it brings up your MP, and just tell them if you've had your own fertility journey, the impact it's had on you, and what a difference it would make to have statutory paid time off. We're not trying to put small businesses under here. We're just trying to give people some protection, because we know through what we do that there's a lot of people go through hell at work. They get made redundant because of this. They get sacked because of it when they don't have any employment rights. It's all very underhand, and there's a lot of people who are in the succession pipeline who then get pushed to one side. So we talk about women in business, we talk about the gender pay gap. All these things are affected because of what goes on with people who are trying to have a baby. So we want as many people as possible. If you've been in that space, if you've got a friend in that space, if you know somebody else, just to write to your MP and just get your MP to support Nikki Aiken, if possible, please. That'd be absolutely great.
Yeah, and as you said, it's not a women's issue. Think about your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your best friend. Someone is working hard, spending thousands of pounds to go into fertility treatment, trying to get that one thing, that they'd like in their life, which is, a child and something like that. And then their organization just strips their employment from them because they're doing this thing. And, you've got loads of articles about how and things I won't understand about how and this invasive for women and what it does to their bodies and how struggle it can be and how the pressure you feel within the first 24, 48 hours. Like, I've read a few things. So just think about it it's not a women's issue, because we can't live anymore as a man and a woman. Most people need a joint household and joint income. So imagine half your income gets taken away. Imagine half your sister's income gets taken away. Imagine all those situations. And this is why it's such an important issue people need to get involved in. There is a link in all the chats. First chat, you can find it right at the top. Click on that, pop in an email.
Thanks.
Now, more positive news, Natalie. You've been shortlisted for another award. I believe you've got a few. HR Influencer of the Year. You've done really well on that, and I think this one's Women in Business Award.
Yeah, so the Women's Business Club, so I'm nominated for Female Founder of the Year for the work I've done since starting Reeboks HR. So yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm very, very happy. And then of course we've got the big awards in, the big national awards in December, and that is for Best New Business. So yeah, no pressure at all.
It's being nominated enough, isn't it? A lot of these things, so many businesses, so many startups, so many people. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much. It's a real honour to be a part of it, and thank you, as always, for your support. I really appreciate it.
And Lee, another hotel, another day on the road.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything remarkable apart from traveling the country and sampling all the different hotels.
You're practically Lenny Henry.
No, I'm not in that brand. Different brand.
How are things going at the moment?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Business that I work for has been challenged by the things that we're about to talk about, particularly in the automotive sector. So it's causing quite a few different HR issues across that I'm trying to help with bit by bit.
Yeah, and businesses. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about individuals and the regulations coming in for households and things like that. But as you point out, Lee, trying to work within a business doing this, businesses are unregulated. In terms of the price rises a business can see, there's no limit. Imagine having to choose between, employing staff members or having lights on in your shop. It's going to be very difficult. And for someone like your business that's got these massive buildings, it could, be a real risk for many people. So thank you for coming on and talking about it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. The main thing, cost of living, we're going to talk about first, energy bills. I've got a lovely chart here from the ICAW, who, if you don't know, they're the chartered accountancy firm who do sort of all the private sector. So your PwCs, your Deloitte's, the top accountancy firm use these to train their staff. And their prediction, this came out on the 1st of September. Now, just to explain, the bottom number is the standing charge. That's the amount you get charged just for owning an electricity meter. How privileged are you? You're going to pay 200 quid a year just to have that meter. The next number is the electricity price. Now, this purple one is where we're just about to move to in October, and the one before it is the green one. So we're currently paying 28 pence. That expects to jump to 51 pence. And then when you look into 2023, I mean, that's jumping to 80p, 91p, 78p. So from 17.2p per kilowatt hour, as they call it, to 91 pence. This is an issue that we have to talk about, because it's going to affect so many people, isn't it, Claire?
I think, do you know what, James? It scares me. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but it scares me. I put something on Twitter the other day, and I said, I'm going to be working from home. So now I'm based in Manchester. My office is in Bradford. For me to travel there and back every day, that's 3 hours in the car, 2.5, 3 hours in the car, plus the fuel. If I get the train, as reliable as they are, that's £30. So I'm left sat at home, and I'm actually looking at ways to keep warm in the day so I don't have to put the heating on. And I just can't believe that we're in this situation. And I'm lucky that I have a good job. My husband's got a good job, but we're kind of looking, what can we do to save this money? So God knows what people are going to do who just literally have no wiggle room in their wages every month. I just can't. I actually genuinely think we're in a bit of a nightmare. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, is this real? Or, is this just the country's gone a little bit bonkers? And it's frustrating as well, James, because I've read a lot of stuff about this, and Germany aren't having this impact and France aren't having this impact. And I can't help thinking that if we had stayed in the EU, we would be in a lot stronger position. And I voted Remain. I don't want to, it doesn't matter what anyone else did, but I voted Remain. And I just think our political decisions are just driving us into a total crazy place at the minute.
Well, one of the reasons France aren't having the issue is France have a government-regulated energy scheme, and one of their government-regulated bodies is a company called EDF Energy. EDF Energy made £107 million from the UK, which all went into their people's energy bills and reducing their people's energy bills, and 100 million came from us to reduce their bills. But whilst it affects us individually, Natalie, you deal with quite a lot of businesses, and I'm assuming people are, there's no regulation. I showed that bill. That is a regulated view gone through Ofgem as to what they're going to put the prices up for consumers. Businesses don't have that protection at the moment. So are you finding a lot of how do we get everyone sent home? How do we shut down the offices type conversations, Natalie?
To be honest, I'm already seeing the impacts of it. Just this week, I've been finishing off a first line of redundancies for a small business, and they have said we cannot operate all of our sites, so we're having to close them. I've had managing directors on the phone to me in tears saying, I don't know how I'm going to switch the lights on, let alone pay my people, because there isn't any suggested help at the moment for business support, and yet we've seen a greater emphasis upon employers now. So you're seeing a proposed bring forward of the national, say like the national living and minimum wages to be able to help pay for this stuff. But what we're seeing is that it's all based upon businesses. What they don't counter for is the size of the business. So even though, to some organizations, much larger ones, it might be, it's only going to be X amount per hour. But to a small business that is just trying to break even most of the time with their aspirations for growth, a lot of it is stunting that growth now because they aren't able to actively prepare for increases as and when the government decide that that's what they're going to do. So we're already starting to see redundancies coming through. There are the other sides of it where we're also seeing employees raising grievances against their employers because they are scared, they're worried, and they think, actually, what else can I do? The other or the third impact that we're likely to see is the increase in potential tribunal claims. So naturally, if you can get a no-win, no-fee thing, it's quite easy for an employee to raise a tribunal of whatever case, and businesses just aren't prepared for it. So I'm supporting businesses in 3 different ways at the moment. So either through their processes, preparing them for the cost of living increases as much as I possibly can, and thinking of ways in which they can just support their own business from a commercial perspective. But additionally, I'm looking at how do we support the employees. And lastly, how do we actually look at protecting the business from any potential claims or cases that may arise? Because frankly, there's a lot of stuff going on at the minute, and that's probably the last thing that they need.
Didn't even cross my mind, that thing, but I can understand people's views. You're trying to put food on the table and stuff like that, and people feel boxed into options.
Yeah.
Lee, you work in the learning and development department. You're helping train people and come to solutions and stuff like that. How are you finding engagement at the moment? Is it? I did a poll actually, and there's quite a lot of people that just sit in the denial. They're just acting like it's not happening at the moment. Are you seeing that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's mixed for me. One is very much that camp. There are people that are sort of just brushing it under the carpet and pretending it's not happening, because I think for some people the big bills are not quite landing on the doorstep just yet. And I think give it a couple of months when the big bills start coming through, I think we'll start to see a change there. The other side of it is a lot of the time where I get to see people across the business face to face is during their induction period. So they're coming into the business, they're excited about the new job. They've worked for us for about a month or so. It may be a complete career change for them, or it might be, promotion for them, a positive step for them. But they know that actually there's something going on in the background, and the conversation around, around the lunch table, around the coffee station is how it's affecting people. But interestingly, the way that what the conversation is, isn't actually so much about their domestic energy use. It's about the sites that we've got. They're not daft. They know that the sites use an awful lot of electricity, particularly as a sustainability move. We're moving to provide our staff with more electric cars than fossil fuel cars at the moment. And of course, where are they going to charge those cars? At work, where we have electric car charging stations in our dealerships. It makes sense. We've always said that our staff can charge our cars there. Customers want to charge them there as well. So staff are quite aware that our sites are are having increased bills, and they're sort of wondering what's going to happen with business, even though we're a big business. And Natalie, it was really interesting to listen to you there about how it's impacting small businesses, and I don't take away from that whatsoever. The problem is so real in that space in a small business. But for businesses with smaller margins, even bigger businesses that have these big overheads, they can see very quickly if the profit is going to start to drop away. And unfortunately, we're not in that case in our business. But I think staff need that bit of reassurance, regardless of the size of the business, as to whether the business will actually continue to make profit because of these huge costs.
And it's very hard to get. I'll stick with you. It's really hard to give that reassurance when we just have no clarity, do we? I mean, I've just done a session on succession planning, and a really, really bad example of succession planning is this whole debacle of a new leader to come into place. And I'm not having anything against Conservatives or Labour, but the fact that we can see these massive bills coming and no one's there giving us reassurance and no one's answering the questions, just putting people into panic mode, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll try not to get too political for too long, but what date is it now? The 7th of September. For when people are watching this, it means 2 days ago, Liz Truss found out. Well, she found out on Friday, but we found out Liz Truss would be the Prime Minister. So just to give that context for the dates, I think as the outgoing PM, Boris was probably right not to release too much information, because he's not going to make a mess and then leave someone else to clean it up. But I think also whoever the incoming PM would have been, it makes sense for them personally to not say too much until they're in power, so that they can certainly come across as the saviour. So hopefully in the coming weeks we're going to see some changes and some support.
Claire, have you bought a new kettle? Because you can save £10 by buying a new kettle.
Can I tell you about my kettle? It's the best thing ever. It's a oh God, I've forgotten the brand. My head, I can't remember what's the brand. It's a really nice brand, and you can change the temperature that it boils to, so it won't use as much energy. It's a very good one.
So tepid tea in the Ingle household.
No, but get this. This is another hint and tip I can share. I'm going to boil my kettle once, fill a flask for the day, and that's my brews for the day. See, just once, and then do it. Or maybe twice, hot water bottle and the flask. I'll see how I get on, but I hate the cold, James. I'm absolutely dreading it. If I lived in the Bahamas, it'd be so much better. Might propose that to my husband. Let's just move to the Caribbean.
Let's relocate. They offered that during COVID, didn't they? You could go there for 6 months without a visa and work. Was it Bahamas or?
Why did I not know about this?
There was a massive news story about it.
Missed that one over. But no to new kettle. But we have, and this is really tragic, I've switched my wine fridge off. I've had to switch my wine fridge off.
No.
My full wine fridge, can I say?
On the positive side, if you don't heat your home, it'll soon be at the right temperature.
Yeah, you see every cloud.
Now, Natalie, there's a big refusal to pay in October. It's a massive campaign going on at the moment. Don't pay UK. I think the new frontman seems to be Russell Brand, and he's very eloquent in how he puts it across, and he explains it really well. People on benefits, do you go into debt now, or do you go into debt in a few months' time after you can't pay your bills? And regardless, that £650 is going to do nothing. It's a month's energy, that basically. Are you finding businesses and people asking for your advice on whether they should do the don't pay in October?
Crikey, I've heard so much about this, and there's a lot of advice out there. I have to give a mention, really. Not that he's watching. If he is watching, that's great. Come and join us for the next Let's Talk HR, because you would be amazing. And that's Martin Lewis. And the campaigns that he's putting forward and the advice that he's doing, he's so proactive in terms of trying to advise people. And we've all seen him on the TV recently fighting our corner, essentially. I haven't seen anybody backing the don't pay, but obviously that's not, in my view, that's not particularly good advice, because that will not put you in a very good financial state individually. Yes, we've got these bills, and I recommend if people can't, so that the advice I'm giving out to employers at the moment, a lot of the tips and stuff James, I give out for free. But there's a number of charities that are out there that are trying to give the best advice to people. One of them is a debt company called Step Change. So if people are already worried, because frankly, a lot of people live hand to mouth. So we have to be very aware of that. And I've had employers or businesses come to me saying, my employees are saying that they can't afford to drive to work. They can't afford to get the bus to work. So all of these things that have gone up over the years are actually, it's very much a Mexican standoff, I think, isn't it? When we look at it that way, because you've got people saying that they can't do something even though they're trying to, and they're trying their very best, and the employer's like, I haven't got any extra money to give you, otherwise I would. So it is difficult. It's difficult for everyone, I think, irrespective of what wage you earn or what circumstances you're in.
I mean, you might have to turn off your wine fridge. That's definitely a solution, isn't it?
I don't have a wine fridge, but no, I want one.
Right, your cheese fridge. No, do you need a cheese fridge? No, you don't need a cheese fridge.
Yeah, we do.
Is the fact the government have been taking so long about this, so long before communications come out, is this an attempt to drive people back to the office and get the economy of people going back into the office, Claire? Is this all part of, as Natalie mentioned, the Mexican standoff, because they want people back into the office, they want people buying, all the stuff, all the businesses that are related to office-related things, the sandwich shops, the supermarkets, everything, that the meals, everything connected with that. Is the delay to try and push people to go, look, you can't afford to heat your home. The office will have heating.
Do you know what, James? I'd like to say our government and give our government credit that they would actually think that strategically, but I really don't think they would. So, whether that's an underlying subconscious message, I just find it very poor. I mean, if you put this into context with any other business, when someone at the top, the leader at the top, kind of disappears and nothing, that the ripple of uncertainty that runs through any organization, no matter how small or big. And the fact that we've been silent on this in this country and everyone's looking round to one another going, what the hell's going on? I just think it's really poor. And, I've stopped watching the news because I can't cope with it emotionally anymore. It just does my head in. I just go to bed worrying about everything. But they had recess, and actually the country's in crisis. So with everything that's been going on for the last couple of years, this is crisis point again for a different reason. And I don't think they're thinking about it. But my circumstance, like I said before, I have to try. Me going to the office isn't going to save me any money. It's going to cost me more in fuel. So I'm just like, it's rock and hard place for some people. And some people I work with, so I work in the NHS, we work with a lot of community nurses who have to fuel their cars to drive around, see patients. And they're in the same, they're going, I can't afford to fuel my car. What do we do? And people then, what happens then for big public sector organisations like the NHS? People start going, well, I can get more money if I go to Bupa or if I go to here. And the retention thing really worries me in terms of staffing, because we're going to see such a massive turnover in the next 6 months. People just literally, it's a recruiter, it's like a recruiter's market, in that people can just go where they want. I could potentially go and get, I hope no one from my work's listening, but I could potentially go and get a job that pays 10 grand more and if I was in a more dire situation, I would consider that as a viable option, because I'd be thinking, I need to protect my mortgage, I need to protect my daughter, I need to protect everything that I have. And I'm not talking about wine fridges or holidays or things like that. I'm talking about basic day-to-day living.
Yeah, I completely understand. I mean, me and my wife were talking about it, because obviously HRC Online's coming up to a year old, and we set this up with savings and everything like that. And obviously I left a very high-paying job to set up something that pays me nothing. So we're all relying on savings and her salary. And it's a strange situation to be in, isn't it? To want to make decisions. You try to better yourself, but you're almost being kept down because you need to balance the books. But Claire is a really interesting point about, no matter what you do, Lee, it's going to cost you more money. You go into the office, it's going to cost you more money. You stay at home, it's going to cost you more money. people are stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I guess, where do people, what do people need to start doing?
Yeah, I think there's it's a really valid question, isn't it? What do we do about it? As you said before, I work in the L&D space of HR, and it has crossed my mind: do I produce some form of learning, whether that's face to face or digital, or whatever that looks like, to help people with their domestic energy use, and how to turn lights off and make sure that Alexa's not plugged in overnight and all that kind of thing. But I think, I can't remember who, someone earlier mentioned Martin Lewis, and one of the things that he said multiple times is people have done it all. They're already at the point where their energy usage and their finances are as lean as they possibly can be. Telling people to switch the light off. I mean, James, earlier you shared those statistics around the standing charge. That's nothing to do with whether your lights are on. It's nothing to do with whether we're using an air fryer instead of the oven. Nothing to do with whether you've put your wine in your normal fridge instead of the wine fridge. Sorry, Claire, you regret saying that now, don't you?
I know I do, yeah.
People already know, and I think to myself, is it just going to patronize people to say turn the light off when you walk out of the room? We'll gather in one room and watch the same thing on TV instead of multiple rooms. What's people's feelings going to be towards the business if we patronize them and tell them to turn the lights off? It's not going to be good PR for the business. It's going to be further disengaged, where most people will think, well, they could have given me a pay rise, whether the business could have done or not. And I think the other thing, just to pick up on the start of your question there, and actually something Claire said earlier about going into work, and it would cost more to go into work to get the heat and to make your brews and whatever else, and reduce your energy usage. If we think back 6 months ago, 12 months ago in the HR space, what did we have? The Great Resignation. What fueled that? The fact that as we come out of COVID, people realised that they could work remotely and get a job, and in most have a career change or work for a business they would want to, and not have to live in London or live in Manchester or whatever city it may be. They can do it from anywhere. So actually, a lot of people, myself included, can't go to work. They can't just choose to go to work because they might live 200 miles away from work. The office might not actually exist. It might be, a fully remote working situation. I live in York. The business is based in Colchester. That would be quite a long way for me to go to save a little bit of energy. My nearest dealership I could go to is Manchester. Again, 70 miles, something like that. I don't know how far it is, but not a realistic thing. And if people are doing that, if people are starting to travel just for the sake of that, what's that doing for the other really pressing issue at the moment, which is climate change? Bit of a lose-lose situation.
Will we find people like when it was really hot a few weeks ago, feels ages ago now, but when it was really hot, one of the things I just got in a disagreement with the wife just so that I could get in a car, go for a drive, air conditioning. Oh my God. Peace and quiet and air conditioning. Are we putting relationships at risk? People will be having arguments to go for a drive just to have the heating on in the car for 10 minutes. But one of the things we've seen, Natalie, is we've seen people, and this has been big on social media, mainly TikTok, I've seen it, is people going into petrol stations, paying what they've looked online to be the base cost that Shell, and charging for petrol prices and stuff like that, saying, I'm only paying you this. I refuse to pay the margins that Shell are making because they're making 170 billion pound, 200 billion pound. Therefore, I will go to court for this and stuff like that. Have you seen the partial petrol payment stuff?
It's a tad extreme, isn't it? But yes, I have heard of it. The police call it bilking. So even if you do agree to pay a sum of it, you're still technically driving off without paying the full amount and everything else. People are trying to exercise their rights to the nth degree, and it's no surprise really, because we've been through, whilst they didn't like to call it a recession, essentially the country has been in recession since COVID. They don't like to use that word because, people get scared and worried, but technically that's what we've been in. This is worse, I would say, than how I felt in 2008. So I was working for a large PLC company in 2008. I was made redundant in 2008, and there was literally no work as part of it. You're starting to see the larger companies as well starting to go, oh, okay, yeah, we're really kind of a bit shaky at the minute, and we don't like it. And these are well-established brands, so it's no surprise that people are doing what they can to save money as much as they possibly can, because they are worried. And I really wish, because everyone will either turn to HR or finance and say, right, okay, we need help. We saw it through furlough. We've seen it to the return to the office, back out to hybrid working again. The employment space itself, so the HR world does feel like it's been pretty fearful for a long time. And I don't like to use that word lightly, and I don't mean it to sound as heavy as it is, but, when we've had to put up with, the furlough scheme and Rishi Sunak coming out with a different briefcase every week and saying, right, HR and finance, let's go. That's pretty much what it's been like. And then we've had to deal with, like Lee said, we've got all of these terms coming out. So the Great Resignation. Actually, I'm finding that employers are struggling to attract people at the moment, because people are staying put. So the Great Resignation, I don't feel was as fearful as what it should have been, what it could have been, and the way that it was made out to be. The next part that we're dealing with is, we're still continuing to see the fallout of COVID. COVID hasn't gone away. People are still getting ill. There's pressures on the NHS, and I'm sure that Claire will vouch for that. But it's like, okay, so we've forgotten about COVID now, so let's throw the next thing. And it's not surprising, is it, that people are looking at alternative routes, or just dabbling in a bit of criminology, as you do, a bit of crime. It's only a bit of bilking. Honestly, I get it, but in some ways I'm like, oh no, don't do that, because you don't want a criminal record. Just don't do it.
That can affect employability options and stuff, can't it? No. I think, well, let's talk about what we're doing, because on my LinkedIn I put what my price increases are going to be, what things are going to affect, because the Bank of England base rate's gone up. So they're not accepted recession because they've been putting inflation rates up. So my mortgage has gone up 15%. My energy bill price is expected to go from £1,200 per annum to £5,000 per annum. The food is expected to increase 9.1%. Asda and I think other supermarkets are offering people loans to buy food, which is horrendous. Petrol's going to break £2. I know it's gone down a little bit. They still took a little bit of extra margin off when it was meant to go down by an extra 8p, the regulator found. So overall, my monthly expenses are going to increase by £500 per month. Now, I can guarantee you, yes, we might be able to cope, but my sister, my mother-in-law who's retired, that's too much of a thing. And that's going to impact renters markets. That's going to impact every market that everyone's in. So without being patronizing and things like that, let's talk about what we're doing. I'll give you the first one. I have been at every single one of my family members because they've asked me to put curtains up in front of all major doors that lead to the outside, because I believe that could save a little bit of energy. What else, and I'll do it as an open forum. What else have we been doing? I know we've turned off the wine fridge. That's a big move.
My big mouth.
But what's up,
drafts as well around windows, James. So I somebody on Twitter came back and said masking tape down your windows, because even double glazing can lose its effectiveness over time, can't it? So that I've got in my head now. I'm the eldest person on this call, but we used to have a draft excluder in the shape of a sausage dog in the early 80s. And I can just see it now in my mum's very first house from my very early memories when I was about 4 or 5. This draft excluder, it was like a velvety. Maybe I should get some of those.
Yeah, and then the big curtains at
on the front,
yes, and then all the ruffles at the top. Need some of them.
Yeah, they making a comeback. They're going to make a comeback. I can just see it now. 1980, you rocked.
And don't forget your little curtain hangers at the side so you can drape them open beautifully when you need to.
Yeah.
My mum still has them, Natalie. My mum still
has them. My mum does.
I'm running out of ideas. Honestly, I'm really kind of struggling with what. Do you get a better rate overnight? Is that just because I always forget? Is
I
there a better rate?
Some do. So is it economy 7? And then I think it's 7 hours overnight that you get a cheaper rate.
So sleep in the day, and then turn your heating on at night.
Well, no. You can put your washing machine on. We put our dishwasher on last night at 12 o'clock, so we put it on timer and we put it on at 12. So we've got delay, but equally switching it on and putting a delay on is actually probably just as bad. Well, not as bad, but yeah, delaying. And actually, I'm washing at 30 degrees because 10 degrees makes a massive difference. I'm really out of ideas now. Other than, I mean, I'm very lucky. Our house is only 14 years old, so every internal wall is insulated, so it holds heat really well. So all I need to do is switch all the radiators off in the rest of the house and put the one on that I'm working smallest room in the house working in, and I'll be fine. It's just obviously I have a 4-year-old daughter and I don't want her to come home and be cold. That's my priority. I don't care if I'm cold. If she's cold, that's another conversation. Might go sleep with the dogs who are next to me here, just in their blankets.
Dogs radiate heat, just spooning.
Yeah, spoon my dashies. That's a good idea.
But has anyone got anything else?
About a lot of these energy is as simple as buying a draft excluder, which will actually help, whether it's putting curtains up over the doors, which again will actually help. One of the things I've thought about is I've walked around our living room and walked around my office and counted the amount of devices that are on standby overnight, or not on standby, but actually they're on but not being used. We have 4. I don't want to say a name in case people are listening. It chirps up, but Echo. There we go. Amazon Echoes. We have 3 TVs in the house. I counted it's something like 20 devices that are sitting on standby. So quite easily you can buy those plugs that will actually just switch off. So the plug itself is using a tiny amount of electricity, but it'll switch off devices. And I think with the rate of electricity at the moment, with the rate that you pay for electricity, that actually will make a difference. Even the smart meter itself that we'll have plugged in, at one point that was about 5p a year, where now that's going to be something like 50p a year to run. I know 50p a year isn't going to be what tips you over the edge, but how many devices have you got that use that little bit more than that? But those plugs are about £20 each, and how many plugs do you need to buy to do that? You're probably spending about £200 on plugs to save. The thing I mentioned earlier is an air fryer. You're going to use so much less electricity with an air fryer. Absolutely brilliant. But they're £200. You spend all your savings, you spend £1,000, you put yourself overdrawn to save a few quid on your energy bill. It's not a great situation.
Interestingly, on the air fryer, mainly because it annoys me because it's just a marketing gimmick because it's a small oven. But it is a small oven. It's exactly the same. A slow cooker being on for 8 hours.
Yes.
Uses less than an air fryer and an oven.
Oh, really? I was going to say that's what I cook all of my meals in. Is in my slow cooker. So I actually cook in batches as well. So I've started to do that. My 17-year-old stepson, he comes home. He works for he works for Screwfix, and he came home and he does his late shift, so he doesn't finish till sometimes gone at 8:30 at night. So he'll come home and he will just pick up his out of the fridge and then he'll just do what he needs to do. Because a lot of people have said, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go and live on ready meals because it's basically a full meal. And I'm like, yeah, but you're having to, the cost of those is massive now compared to what they used to be. And I think that the other thing is that I'm teaching my stepchildren financial education as well, to say this is why all of this is so important, because they're worried. And we forget that actually there's some people that look up to us that want us to have the answers. Like we said earlier, we don't, but I've definitely invested in my slow cooker. Yes, I do own an air fryer, and I use it more than my very economical oven now. So there are little changes that people are making, but it remains to be seen. By the way, just as a quick search on Amazon, that timers are, as Claire was mentioning earlier, they are actually one of the best selling items on Amazon right now. Other retailers are available.
Yes, because other retailers are coming after us for talking about energy saving.
Yeah. I love the slow cooking thing, Natalie. I do the same. I've batch cooked for years because I cook from scratch, because I learned that off my mum when I was a very young girl. So batch cooking, I've got tons of food in the freezer, and it is literally bring it out and different. And apart from the fact it makes your life so much easier when you're working, it's just so good. You can cook meals that cost like 30, 40p even now.
Yeah, absolutely. And my stepson absolutely loves the TikTok recipes, and he doesn't realize that they're healthy. So if people are into TikTok, there's a lot of people on there that are doing cheap but healthy ready meals, so that you're not, eating a load of processed stuff or just getting whatever you can on offer. There are a lot of bargains to be had out there. However, how long just remains to be seen, doesn't it? So batch cooking for me is the way forward. But other than that, I'm the same as you guys. I'm looking around the house at my devices and seeing what I've got plugged in, what I haven't, and doing what I can, just like everyone else, I suppose.
Well, to help everyone,
my biggest tip to anyone out there would be to get a job where you travel for work constantly. You save a fortune on hotels, and you don't have to cook anything. Charge your devices while you're there.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many lights you've got on right now, Lee.
No, come on, Lee.
All the lights.
I'm switching everything on.
But to give people an idea of how much things cost, and to just sort of not end it on such a negative note, we're going to play a game called The Price is Shit. To give you an indication of how this is going to work, I'm going to give you an item, a broadband router. Everyone's got a broadband router in your house. Now that runs 24 hours a day. How much do you think that costs a day? Someone give me a price.
60p.
20p.
I'm going to go £1. Round it up.
£365 a year just for your broadband router.
So
Thankfully not. It's 5p a day. 5p a day your broadband router would cost you, which works out at £19.62 per year. Okay. And so to give you an indication of how much things cost, there's a great website called, if I can remember it, on Citizen Advice, where actually how much the things cost, and you can put in electrical items for the duration that you use them, and it will tell you how much they cost. So I've done that for some normal household items, so we can come up with some inventive ways to save some cost. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get guesses from these three. We're going to see who gets closest to the total price that I've got for these items. And then I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost when the prices go up to 91 pence per unit at the end.
You just said we weren't ending on a negative note. That's a negative note.
It's all right. I don't have a wine fridge in this, by the way, but I could do a fridge.
What do we win?
I said that. Nothing.
You win the ability to say...
You won.
You won.
Great. He's never coming back to one of these chats. I'm out of here.
He needs something to do when he's in a hotel room. Okay, we're going to start with a dishwasher on for 1 hour a day. How much does that cost?
On economic cycle or normal cycle?
Look, that's not an option.
And what brand of dish?
What energy rating? He's going, why did I start this game?
James is regretting this game.
It's a handy, super efficient Energy Plus. Model CX20049.
Oh, that'll be
72p.
72p an hour. Yeah.
66p.
I've got that right now.
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to say 42.
Round one. Natalie, 42p. It's 38 pence per 1 hour.
Ooh.
It will go up in 2023 to £1.24, which if you did one per day would be £452 per year.
Wow.
So maybe wash the dishes yourself with your leftover
Rainwater,
thingy water,
bath
brew
water.
bath water. No, I was thinking hot water bottle water, not bath water.
I've seen people on Twitter in, these big plastic tubs in the shower. I'm not even joking, standing and having a shower, so they keep all their shower water and then they use it for. And I was like, and then when people were putting on the chat, how do you get it downstairs? It's like slopping all this water down.
I think I would advise not paying for your fuel at a fuel station and risking getting arrested for doing that.
Okay. Next
do not
one.
do that, people. Do not do it.
Do not take that advice.
Sorry.
Why do these dishes taste funny? Oh, I cleaned them with bath water. All right, that's why it tastes like soap. Your kettle for 5 minutes a day.
8p.
So it's on for 5 minutes in a day.
8p.
How much do you think that costs?
8p.
Claire, you need to know what temperature you're heating it to.
Yeah, I'm gonna send an image later. You can all see it's like a little doodle. It does a sound. It goes doodle, doodle, doodle.
8p.
8p.
10p.
Natalie.
Lee was 10.
Lee said 10. Yeah. And I'm going to go higher because I always get told off for boiling the kettle too much. So I'm going to go probably about 35.
Oh.
It goes to Lee because it's 21p.
Wow.
Now,
What did I
interesting
say?
stat. When people used to watch soaps at the same time before, we all got on demand and could fast forward adverts. The National Grid used to have to plan for breaks.
Yes, they did.
Put in a plan for electricity spikes.
Yeah.
That's how much people put in brews on cost. But it's 21p for 5 minutes of pure kettle brewing.
I'm just thinking about how much money I'm burning through now.
Yeah. I have a hot water tap, so I don't have a clue how much that's going to cost me. I need to work that
That'll
out.
be really expensive. They'll be because it's constant, isn't it? Is it constant heating?
It keeps it. It's like a flask. It gets it to a heat and then keeps it at that heat. So it's like a thermos. It's like a box. So it's either really energy efficient
or not,
or really not.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now that will go up to. A kettle will go up to 69p per day or £251 per year if you boiled it for 5. But it's all right. I have an energy saving tip coming up. Let's say you vacuum for 25 minutes a day. How much do you think that would cost?
12p.
I have a question.
I don't think it's very
Who
expensive.
vacuums for 25 minutes a day?
Oh, you haven't met my mother-in-law. 25 minutes a day is light.
Oh, Natalie does. I don't, everyone. I don't hoover for 25 minutes a day.
So we've got 12p from Claire.
No, I think lower. I think that's. I'm going to go 7p.
I'll go in the. I'll probably say
9.
Crikey. I don't know, 14.
Claire is the closest at 10p per day, 25 minutes of vacuuming. So if you cut that out, you could be saving £36 a year. Or when the prices go up, you could be saving £118 a year.
That's not even, these aren't even like increases. These are like just blah, blah.
It's like someone's just picked a figure and said, right, that's how much we're going to charge them. And, you know, the basics shouldn't be a luxury, being able to feed yourself and keep your home clean and feed your kids and
Hoover your house.
To hoover my house. That's actually my wind down time, believe it or not. But honestly, it's like therapy to me, cleaning, and it's just one of those things. But you know, we will kind of have that. So yeah, I just find it staggering, and it's this real shock to the system when you're saying these things, James, because this is just the basics to live. Yeah. Nobody wants to live in a dirty house or drink rainwater or, you know, have dishes smelling like Head and Shoulders. That's just not it's not right, is it? This whole thing is just staggering. It's beyond belief. It's like Claire said earlier, this can't be real. We must be waking up in some sort of twilight zone somewhere.
So I've got two more. One is quite expensive and surprised me, which is how much do you think 1 hour of a tumble dryer a day?
Oh, that's expensive. £1.50.
I'm going to go £1.
Maybe a older.
I'm going to get upset. I love my tumble dryer.
£1.
Worst thing ever. Oh, God, no.
I'll probably go about 70p.
Hang on. Actually bang on the nose with Natalie there, 70p.
Oh, Lee's not upset now. What's it going to go up to, James?
No, what's it going to go to?
Well, still, if you did it 1 hour a day at 70p, that's still £255 a year.
Yeah, but you don't need your tumble dryer on every day.
It depends. If you've got kids and they play sport and they're getting muddy all the time and they need their kit washing 3 or 4 times a week.
The kit? Yeah. I thought you were putting the kid in the tumble dryer.
The kit, not the kid.
I mean, you can put the kid in. It'll keep them warm. It may be a way to keep them warm.
See?
And entertained.
Up here for something.
We do not advise putting your child in the tumble dryer, and this was only meant as satire. Please do not put your child in the tumble dryer.
You'll have to put a disclaimer up there then, James. Yeah. But like my sister, she's got a little one, and you know, they go through mountains of clothes and things like that, and she relies upon her tumble dryer. So there's lots of mums out there that do the same.
Or your radiators, and I don't have the price for that, but I believe that was £1 per radiator per hour last time I saw it, because of how gas prices are going up separate to electricity. So I don't have all the figures on that, but that's what it was coming out at.
Would it be better to buy an electric blanket then? And I'm all joking aside, and put it on your lap while you're working rather than having a radiator on. That would be more energy efficient, wouldn't it?
Potentially, or a heater.
Yeah.
I've got a heater in my loft.
An element heater.
I was going to say we've stopped using our actual heaters because we're in an electric only property, so we don't have central heating system. We only have the old the old radiators, the wall mounted radiators,
storage ones, and then
but just the smaller versions of them. And even that was, you know, we saw the staggering amount our bill cost the winter before last, so we ended up buying the Dyson hot and cold. Others are available. But we can, you know.
Well, if they want to sponsor this stream, then they're more than welcome.
Dyson, yeah.
So we've got some star-studded guests coming to you, James. But honestly, it's one of those things where we ended up seeing such a dramatic decrease in our bills by just using that in the living room. And of course, the heat rises in the house, and we're in a new property like yourself, Claire. It stays relatively warm, and we've actually ended up closing all of the vents on the windows and things like that just to keep the heat in. But not everybody has the option to do that. So I think no matter what we do, everyone's going to feel the effects of it.
Now it's important to get
a warm as well.
Meal.
Sorry to backtrack slightly. Oh, sorry, James. Let me say again.
Go for it.
I think just to backtrack slightly to the joke about what you're putting in the tumble dryer and what you definitely should not put in the tumble dryer. I think there's a really good point around diversity and inclusion here to bring it back to HR a little bit, because empathy is a really important point here, because I don't have kids. I've never looked after kids because my friends know me well enough not to trust me with their kids. I put them in a tumble dryer. So I have absolutely no idea. And, you know, my first thought when you say putting the tumble dryer on every day, I'm like, I put it on once a week because there's just 2 of us in the house, or maybe twice a week. You know, it very rarely needs to actually go on, and all my washing goes through the tumble dryer. So to hear that someone would put the tumble dryer on every single day, well, yeah, actually, what you said, Natalie, about, you know, someone's got 2 kids, yeah, they probably would have it on, but I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. And the fact that that's the most expensive thing we've talked about now, and how much that's going to increase, I don't even know what it's going to do. Don't my tumble dryer away from me. Like, what emotional impact is that going to have on a parent that is now thinking, well, I can't tumble dry where I really need to. I need to get the kids, the football kits turned around for the next day, and that kind of thing. Like, that's actually really real.
Lee, what about carers as well? So if you're caring for somebody who wets the bed or something like that, you're on a totally different level then, because the tumble dryer is not on once a day, it's on 4 times a day. It's actually really scary when you kind of start really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to ask you to guess the last couple, but I'm just going to tell you what the last 2 are, just for reference. And these are things that an iron for 30 minutes a day. If you iron your clothes, if you're passionate about ironing your clothes, that's going to cost you 20p currently for 30 minutes of ironing a day. And that will go up to 64p a day, or £234 a year if you iron everything. Like my mother-in-law irons socks.
And underwear.
Yeah. And the final one, a piece of toast. A piece of toast currently costs you £3. 3 pence, sorry.
£3?
3 pence.
What toast are you using?
Or £9.79 per year. So the most basic breakfast, like a bowl of cereal or a piece of toast that a child could have, that's going to go up to 9 pence or £32 a year, just to put a piece of bread in a toaster and put it down. And whilst this was a joke, you know, in terms of the price of shit and stuff like that, some of it just illustrates the severity of these potential price rises that hopefully by the time some people are watching this, the government have taken action and done something to, you know, fix energy prices, fix bills, fix things for people. Because what we've talked about and the things that I've covered in this could see, and there's some others which we haven't covered, but from the calculations I did, a £945 per year bill on some of these things could go up to £3,000 a year. And that per month to some people is just like, I don't know, cancelling gym membership for both of them, and they can sort of absorb it and stuff like that. But for others, that is below the poverty line. And these are the types of things people need to really think about in terms of if someone turns up to an interview with an unironed shirt.
Yeah.
If someone, you know, isn't in the best, if someone's food smells like Head and Shoulders, these are the things people might have to consider moving forward. And whilst this was a bit of a fun game to do some prices, the person that was closest was Natalie. She was only 5p off the total estimates.
Oh.
Claire, you were 70p off the total estimates in a more expensive thing. This just highlights that, you know, the cost of living is getting a lot more difficult for a lot more people. There's a lot more people that are going to be struggling, and there's going to be people that will come into work and you'll be like, maybe you should have put a bit more effort into how you look, or maybe you shouldn't be wearing the same clothes 2 days in a row or something like that. But some people are going to have to make these types of decisions, and we need to be empathetic towards them. We need to understand that people are making decisions to put food on the table and keep their home warm. And it's not always about how it comes across to you. It's about how it comes across to their family. This has been Let's Talk HR. This has been cost of living. It's been a difficult one. We've done a bit of joking in there, but please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to others. Please make sure that you do what is best for the people around you, and do whatever you can to help people. Hopefully, as we said, help is coming. But if not, speak to your business, speak to your colleagues, ask people for help, because if you just sit there silently, no one knows to help. So thank you very much, and we will catch you hopefully on a more positive one.